Hello, 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 hello. Welcome again. This is Let's Talk Ghana here on Studios 2 Television. It's good to be back again on your screens after what has been no show in the last 1 week plus. Unfortunate as it seems, they're unfortunate really because the entire team was down under the weather for some very strange reason. After we brought you the previous edition on Friday, and we left. Myself, Marge, and quite a number of the guys, unfortunately, just went under the weather, forced to be in hospitals and the likes, seeking treatment. But good news, we're back here with content where we put Ghana first in all of our conversations, hoping to stay that way. But there's some good news as well in the lead up to a number of the things for the weekend. I will be crisscrossing perhaps the African continent just a little bit and bring you a bit more details. But let's get into the details for today. So, on today's edition of the show, the conversation about the Bank of Ghana, the back and forth, and what is the minority's position? Well, the central bank governor reacted to the demands for answers. Of course, there have been calls for his sacking. The minority have been reacting even as they prepare to meet the IGP or the police hierarchy today over their planned Occupy BOG in response, seeking to have the central bank governor resign. Then we'll hear from the National Labour Commission as well, because there's been a number of issues on the labour front, strikes here and there. NLC says when we give an order, labour groups, government, respect it so that our work can continue. All of that and more. And the Dormaa Hene, yes, a very controversial being because he's come up in the news quite a lot. We'll hear from him as well, who says that a lot of the things he says is because he wants to speak truth to power, has nothing to do with politics. This is Let's Talk Ghana. We return and then we get into the conversation. Stay with us. You're welcome back to Let's Talk Ghana here on Studios 2 Television. I am Eric Mawenagbeta. This show airs Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays here on Studios 2 TV on YouTube as well as on Facebook. And we're going straight into the first conversation because since the last time we brought you details of the NDC's threats, the 21 days, there's been a number of developments. One of the most significant has been a response from the central bank governor, Dr. Addison, who has addressed a news conference and sought to explain the position of the bank because there's been comments that there has been procurement breaches. The contract sum has been varied from $81 million initially to 121, now has gone up to $220 million. The question on the minds of Ghanaians, particularly the minority, is that if the project is in dollars, how come the sum is increasing? If it's cedis, then you can make the argument that depreciation of the cedi against the dollar, so perhaps it will be going up. But if it's in dollar denomination, the dollar is fixed. It's a cedi that suffers against the dollar. So how come we're seeing upward adjustment and the like? The central bank governor addressed all of these concerns and says, look, the project cost is 121. It hasn't gone up again and all of that. And the argument that we've breached procurement proceedings, that's not true. We followed the right procedures and there's no cause for alarm. The minority says, nope, we don't believe you. We don't trust what you're saying. In fact, we're going ahead with picketing at your premises for you to resign. And as Nogbe is a member of the Finance Committee, he's also a Shaman MP. He's been speaking quite extensively. We can take a listen to an audio clipping, of course. I'll bring you a lot of audio clippings, but we seek to work around it and bring you a lot more live inserts and the like. So Enas Nogbe is a member of the Finance Committee. Here's an excerpt of an interview he's been granting in response particularly to their demands and then the procurement breaches concern.
Well, these documents are about the procurement of the services of the project manager or the project management service. They want to procure the services of the project management service, and also the approval from the PPA for them to undertake a restricted tendering, and also the Central Tender Review Committee report from the Tender Board to that effect. And all these three documents are damning documents to the fact that none of these documents have met the criteria in the Public Procurement Act 663 as amended. And so when the governor says none of these procurement laws were breached, I take exception to that, because I have realized that even applying for single source procurement for the services of the project management is below the belt at the first instance, because it does not qualify under single source procurement method. Do we want to say that we have only one single project management service or manager, whoever it is in Ghana here? No, we have a lot, many, and so you cannot engage under that requirement, single source procurement requirement in that aspect. Again, when the PPA approved of a restricted tendering, what did restricted tendering say? You can only apply restricted tendering when you see that the cost involved in undertaking, let me say, open tender, the cost involved, open tender, the cost, the time, and other things, and it is disproportionate, which means that whatever you are going to purchase, whatever you are going to procure, if you want to open the tender for everybody to apply, the time and then the cost involved in the open tendering may even be more than what you are going to procure. For that matter, you should go for restricted tendering. Restricted tendering, you are just going to outline some few, companies by that to apply for, to bring proposal. And so in this instance, we are talking of 81 point something million dollars. You understand that? And so it is way above that kind of restricted tendering, where the PPA approve of 5 companies for this company, for Bank of Ghana to solicit for proposal from them. It is way above that threshold, that you can't use $81 million by just requesting proposal from 5 or so companies. That is not the case in the Public Procurement Act, because it is telling you that if you realize that the amount you are going to spend on the processes will be more, or the time, etc., will be more than what you are going to procure, then you can request for proposal, and that is restricted tendering. And so if $81 million is involved, it is better for you to make an open competitive tendering for even more companies to apply or to also tender, so that you can have value for money, judicious use of state resources, as stated even in the law in section 2 of the Public Procurement Act. So therefore, I have seen it as a blatant violation of the law, of the procurement law. So if the governor is saying that none of those laws were breached, I beg to differ in that aspect. Again, they went to the Central Tender Committee for review. Once you have started your project, you have started the engagement. And so you cannot engage, because the Central Tender Review does not have the powers for ratification. And if you start the project, if you start your program before running to a particular committee, or let's say the PPA, it means you are going for ratification, or you are going to ratify whatever you have started off. But the Central Tender Review Committee does not have those powers under the Section 20F of the Public Procurement Act. They don't have those powers. So it is stated even in their letter that they have started whatever the project before coming to them. So they don't have any locus to ratify whatever they are bringing to them, price variation. They don't have those powers. So I'm saying that the Bank of Ghana breached the procurement law under all the sections that they have quoted. They have quoted section 38B of the Procurement Act, that is where the restrictive tendering is. They have quoted section 72(5)(b), and that is where the single source procurement of the services of the project management service is also, they have breached it. And the Central Tender Review Committee is also another bogus one that is in the public domain. So I am saying that they have breached the law, and so the Bank of Ghana, the governor, should rethink and reposition himself for the call that the minority is making for his resignation, because he has caused the taxpayer some amount of money. We have lost some amount of money, which he should not be still holding that position as we speak now.
So as a legislator, what do you intend to do, having realized or noticed that there were breaches and the procurement laws were breached by the Bank of Ghana?
Well, he has to come again to explain further to Ghanaians the reason why he thinks and he said none of these laws were breached. That is first instance. And secondly, we are, exploring all other options under the sun. We may not say that we will go to court or otherwise, but questions will also be filed on the floor of the House to
but
make
you're
sure.
currently on recess.
Yeah, definitely we'll come back. We'll come back from recess. I'm even suspecting that we may be called to come back for this, what's the name, the deployment of the military in Niger. If that is done, fine, but that may be one-off activity. But be it as it may, we may definitely come back, and the Bank of Ghana governor must be hauled before before Parliament to answer questions pertaining to the construction of this particular office.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, all right. I couldn't even refer to my notes.
Why?
Because I don't want the camera to think that I'm reading something.
But what you wanted to say?
I've said.
So that's Ernest Nogbe, a Shaman MP member of the Finance Committee of Parliament. But I must mention that today, the leadership of the minority will be meeting the police top brass over their picketing. Per the Public Order Act, they're supposed to agree on certain modalities with the police. And so that is going to happen. We'll get details for you as to what transpired a lot subsequently. But while we're at it and the conversation on that, we're going to go into our second subject, what has to do with the Dormaa Hene, because he has come up in the conversations quite a lot recently. He's commented on the central bank governor's decision, or the Bank of Ghana's decision, to put up a new structure, and says that it doesn't make sense. President, please let them stop now, because we don't have money to be doing some of the things that they are doing. Let them stop now. And he spoke about Addison North and why there should be a nollie prosequi file and the likes. He's come up under some scrutiny. In fact, there's a case against him at the Judicial Council as to why he should still be a judge based on his public utterances on very political matters. Well, at a cleanup exercise in his region, his area, he spoke to journalists and said, look, I'm not going to stop talking today or tomorrow because I am a chief and I'll continue to speak on public matters. Here's exactly what he's been saying.
Okasa edru baby na akwaya te se binum beji di se odi otana ba ne bi oteso we me sente domafo akonya kase yesu yi enya amanyo ne betime amamanya dini Dormaa akonya kase no uni abetena so na obo ho modena amansan nyina bebe ye de bebete wonka nti kakra sesemye no ne ngusu ameye de meye we brano mekai Ghana for adia etosini wo ya brabom menka se me de anya angel anase de ntenea kokosi na mbom de ye kan se ye kakaye ho se niema bi a edie na no ye betimi ahwe ne yakrakra no sabio me de asem na nka no eduru ba bi kura ne empese bi enwu ne se wa oteso no no hwe kura nka de boa o se meka bibibi a obetimi akra no boa okura no a ɛno ma okwan nya ma da bia yɛ de ɔtena hɔ na mo nsa wankora ne de na o ma bi ɔte nkyane ɔno be you furu ɔno ɔbɛkora ne de na ka sɛ ɔno no agye ne monyam no ti ma bia mfa sɛ asɛm America na amanyo menye bi da amanyo ma menka bi da mbo tu iso ya baako menka kyerɛ Ghana ni bia sɛ kɔtoma akuadɔnkɔ ana kɔtoma gum ana kɔtoma CPP PNC MPP NDC mbo tu ne wan kɔhyɛ hɔ a sɛ ne bia de kɔhyɛ ma akɔtom de na mo ne mesrɛ obi bia ne sɛ yɛyɛ nipa de bɛ ne otwasa oni sɛ na kyiakyia nti sise no sɛ Peter akonya no somboa ti wo no otwasa no nti wo ya wo akyire ne yebehu bibia akyia ne atwe wadwena si so sɛ bɛ ya dan obɛkura no okura no Ghana fo da bia banya nigye ne mesrɛ Ghana fo wakasa ntwi sabi ya bi de nsorobe ma bia nkasa akasa no Ghana fo eniye ho na mo obi te sɛ odiwanim so yɛ hene adwuma mpanyine mampanyine ministers bɛyɛ bibi na office a ade akɔna nkoye ya kyerɛ wadwen ɛwɔ kwampapa so atemdie nim sɛ bɛyɛ kabi ma menkabi nya no na wozi nti bi kabi na bi so akabi na bia nkoya atemdie ne nyina ya twera adwene na Ghana na yɛ de ɛkɔ nanim.
Osajefo Osiade Ajiman Buru, the second, is the Dormaa Hene. There continues to be one who caught a lot of controversy, but he'll be our cue for our very first break. When we return, the conversation on labor and the complaint of the National Labour Commission that, look, labor groups and the likes, you're not listening. The government, you're not listening when I give an order. That's why consistently, it looks like there's a lot of trouble on the labor front. We'll return shortly. This is Let's Talk Ghana. You're welcome back to Let's Talk Ghana. This is the show where we put Ghana first in all of our conversations. And just before I went on that break, I was talking to you about the National Labour Commission. It's the body that is expected to address concerns. So more often than not, you hear strike by teachers, strike by nurses. The body that when there's a strike or there are concerns by the different labor groups that are supposed to address them is the National Labour Commission. They've had cause to complain really at a meeting held yesterday with the labor minister and then the various labor groups. They are called a tripartite committee. The year is coming to an end, so already conversations will begin as to salary increases for government workers. And so they've begun laying down the modalities on that. But at that meeting, a number of things come up because currently the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, the teacher trainee institutions, their teachers are on strike because of some monetary conversations they're having with the government. And the Labour Commission has given orders to resolve the matter, but it appears that has not worked. And so in all of the deliberations, CETA was supposed to be at that meeting, they were not. In all of the deliberations, after the meeting, journalists went up to Ofuswa Sabah, who's the chair of the National Labour Commission, or the executive secretary of the National Labour Commission, and asked outcome of the meeting and how they are seeking to address all these concerns. The people don't listen. I have given an order sometimes for government to do something, pay the people. Government will not pay. I give an order that, okay, labor groups, call off your strike and come to the negotiating table. They don't do that. And so it is making the work of the National Labour Commission difficult and coming off as though they're not doing good enough work. Ofuswa someone speaking to journalists, let's take a listen to him.
The relation between the Labour Commission and the tripartite, right? How to come out to make the Labour Commission more effective in the performance of its duty. Because we have come out with the labour law, that is Act 651, to regulate industrial relations, right? And this law emanated from the tripartite. They did a wide consultancy among themselves. Then Attorney General and others look at it. It went to Parliament and it has been signed into law. Having been signed into law, it means the parties have agreed to be bound by the law, right, to regulate their activities and interaction. And in the same law, they have agreed to establish National Labour Commission as a regulatory body to see to the enforcement, right, and compliance of the very law they have established by themselves.
You look so frustrated.
Yes, frustrated because three things. You have set a body to see to the regulation of your activities by the very law you have set for yourself. The commission comes out with a directive against the government, it will fail, like we have in the recent case that we are doing.
The SITA case.
The SITA. We come out with a ruling against the labor unions that your strike is unlawful, do not proceed on the strike, they flout it and go ahead. You come out with a directive against employers that do not go this direction and they do it. So, eventually they are doing it to subvert the very powers they have vested in the commission they have established. And that is quite frustrating.
And what will the commission be doing now?
Yeah, so we have told them that to make the commission effective and functional, and not for them to be repeating what they said, almost all the parties, we have no confidence in the commission. We don't. If you give orders, directives, and rulings upon the powers you have given us and vested with us, and you don't know, where would the confidence come from? So we have appealed to them that to know their obligations and responsibilities under the law, the very law all of us have made law. It is only when we respect the law, we respect authority, and those we have closed with, then we can have a good...
Yes, my final question to you, in this case of CTAC, now government has suspended their salaries, which the commission used as we talking about that. How do you make of that? But you gave a ruling to government did not comply.
Yes, we have just been informed, and like you said, the commission is now going to look at it.
Look at the suspension and the salary?
Yes, the issues going with it, yes, I'm sure we have to.
And how soon are you resolving that one?
Oh, by tomorrow, I think the commission should be able to come out.
It means that they will pay the month of August.
We are now going to look at it. So by tomorrow, we will know.
Thank you very much.
So the National Labour Commission on their concerns, we're just going to end with CTAC, the group I was talking to you about, the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, because they were supposed to honor an invitation, they failed. They were supposed to call off their strike, they failed. Government says that, look, Controller and Accountant General, the body responsible for paying all government workers, freeze their August salaries because they weren't at work. Freeze it, don't pay them. Interesting, is it? Well, the president of the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, Prince Obey Himan, says, we don't care if you like freeze our salaries. We are still on strike because you government, the money you're supposed to pay us, you have not paid us. You're supposed to write letters to our headmasters so that we have agreed on certain things. You've not done it and you're asking us to call off the strike. We will not do it. Prince Obin Hima is the president of the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana. He's been speaking.
Last Friday, no, by 3-4 num, your secretariat and your friends invitation from the minister. So we share Monday, by 10 o'clock. In fact, some few minutes, China is saying another version of the invitation. This time, the action time no crowd about 8 o'clock on Monday. Now, over Wednesday, the near National Labour Commission, Emma Commission no, as the Emra be on the 30th, but Commission no appeal to SETAC. Sabaya anka yen call off yen action no. Minister name so no also the appeal aba. See yen call off your action no. You know, from Wednesday up to Friday no. Ye gusua ye ne yen call for a kasa ye be share we headquarters Kumasi ye ne structures ni din komo sabaya e betumi atiase ye ne nyina na de akomapa agiatum na suspended action no. Enti no na just sa Friday na fe na obi e konifie. Monday na ye report for assignment the whole week no. Now we have been on the field that obi anko fie. Enti obi ko pusiga bewa. Obi ko hohoi, obi ko takrade. Na onsan da be no betumi akodu ho no san na chiaba Accra Monday. It is the minister no in writing. Sebe ye ankesre na so consider because of that constraint no. Na yenye meeting no online. I no yenye response via back. Enti yenye deliberate na so said the minister na share no man e bia na meeting no opesenka o church no ma bi mu kire enye deliberate.
CTAC and there are many issues. We'll be looking ahead as to exactly what it is that transpires there. But over the weekend, what we're looking ahead for this weekend, the Special Delegate Conference of the governing New Patriotic Party will come up. 956 delegates are expected to partake in the exercise. 17 voting centers across the country. Voting will start at 9 to 1 p.m. It's something that will follow and continue to bring you updates on if you stay with us here on Let's Talk Ghana. But that's our show for you today. A pleasure that we're back on your screens again after a rather unfortunate break, hoping to continue to serve you a lot more where we put Ghana first. Eric Mawena-Egbeta, as always, many thanks to the production team, Marge, and the rest of the guys. Till we meet again on Friday, enjoy the rest of your day.
Studios 2 TV. The truth is here, in your eyes.